This past Shabbat, the 8th day of Passover, the Jewish community faced another horror, another shooting in which one person was killed, several people injured, by someone who claimed that he had a tremendous hatred for all Jews and saw as his inspiration the shooter from the synagogue in Pittsburgh 6 months prior, and also the shooter of the mosques in New Zealand. We are facing, the entire world is facing, a rising tide of hatred, of racism and prejudice. And we as a Jewish community is facing an increasingly rising tide of anti-Semitism in this country and around the world, which is also being expressed in violent, murderous ways. This is something that we have not faced as a community in decades. And this week it is ironic that we as a Jewish community will be observing Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Memorial Day, this coming Wednesday night and Thursday, a time in which we say never again in the face of the worst horror that we as a Jewish community faced in our history, and the worst genocide that the world has faced in its history as well. How do we rise up? How do we respond to this rising tide of anti-Semitism? What can we do to stem the tide? It is ironic that the Havdalah, the prophetic portion that was read in that synagogue, the Chabad synagogue in San Diego, and all synagogues around the world this past Shabbat, was the messianic vision of Isaiah for a time in the future when all will be able to live together in peace and harmony. Even the wolf and the lamb, Isaiah says, will be able to lie down together. And he also says in a verse that we recite every Saturday night as part of the Havdalah service. In fact, we begin the Havdalah, the service that marks the end of Shabbat and the beginning of the work week, with this sentence: Hine el Yeshuati eftach velo efchad, ki oziv rezimrat Adonai, vayhili li shua. As Eitz Chaim translates it, behold the God who gives me triumph. I am confident, unafraid. For God the Lord is my strength and might, and God has been my deliverance. Do we mean this literally? That we actually believe that God will intervene and save us from all trouble and tragedy? What I understand this verse to mean is that we see God as our inspiration and motivation for doing good and acting justly in the world. We need confidence to stand up in the face of hatred. We need courage to be able to say never again. We need the confidence to be able to join together with everyone in the community to say we will not take this anymore. We will do something about it. We will preach love. We will advocate that our political leaders also preach love and justice. And that is how I see the prophet Isaiah preaching to us 2,500 years ago and still today, that we need to partner with God to bring justice and love to the world. Shabbat Shalom.